Vyrah reporting for duty. Another day, another day, and another day, another day, and another day. I will fucking like get find something to say after maybe the 500th stream will do it. Let me just change this real quick. All right. So today, React duty. I'm gonna react to some stuff. I've been like, I kind of like out of this. Like, life happens, stuff happens. But it doesn't matter. A lot of good stuff has been announced, and my OBS is fucking really fucked up right now. What's going on? Okay. So yeah, cool stuff has been announced. We'll check it out. And yeah, that's pretty much how it will go. All right, let's get into it. Um, mm, mm. So, all right. Let me just. Mm, mm, mm. Okay. And okay, this should work. Yeah, we'll start with a couple trailers. I've noticed like it is quite the fucking fun to watch and kind of like have an idea of what is about to release, just so I actually have an idea of what the fuck is going on. So yeah, we'll start with something called Alcahest. I don't know who fucking released that. It's not a long trailer, it's really a teaser trailer. Uh, Let me just check if okay, let me just check if my fucking stream is working normally. Um okay, there's sound. Okay, let's check this out. So the game is called Alcahest. We'll see what it means. Let's check this out. Okay, there's a second trailer. We will so far this makes me think of Chivalry with maybe something more. We'll check it out. Let me just All right. Let's jump into the official trailer. Okay. It looks good. It looks good. This is wow. This looks cool. Yeah. Okay. This is a game. This is a game I will not play for sure, and just because not only like not my style, but I will. Oh fuck! Wait, did I forgot to fucking like? Wait, did I forgot to fucking? Uh, well. Okay, so we will watch it again because oh my fucking this is why yeah. So I actually like just like rewatch watch the fucking trailer. Um what the fuck is that? Okay, this is like maybe for later. So um I just watched the fucking like trailer twice, except it was on the fucking like wrong fucking screen. Okay, too bad. Let's rewatch it real fast, and it will like, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so I will explain to you why this trailer is actually kind of on the low side. It's not a good trailer. Like, they released two trailers. What do you see is only you only get to discover that they created a sandbox where that is kind of interesting. That is like makes me feel a lot like the game Chivalry. Chivalry, if you don't remember this game, Chivalry is basically like PvP type of like medieval PvP type of stuff, right? But here's the thing to me, like the problem is that like there is no story at all. And I will give you this example. Um, I will give you the simple example to explain to you what's the problem. A lot of you played WoW. A lot of you played, or at least know WoW or Halo, right? Gears of War. It's been a while. Okay. If I fucking sell you, this image. If I sell you this image with with this image, right? Let me just with this image. Well, you'll be like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, they look kinda cool. Stuff look kinda cool, and then you forget, right? And this is the problem of like Alcahest. Is it like there is no story so far, and these are like the official trailer, reveal trailer, right? So it's like nice try, just like man, like mechanics do not gameplay do not make a game. It just allows a game to be played. So yeah, I'll see. Maybe the story is fucking insane. Maybe there's more. But so far, like the variety of enemies and overall, I think that like they just created like a good fucking like something that feels good to play. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So yeah, that was Alcaest. Really not fan of that, but maybe it is yours. All right. Okay, so this is done. Okay, let's check out. So there is like the idea of let me just check. Uh, there is this idea of Uh, uh, uh. Wait. Fuck. I need to get this, like this, like this, like this. Just so I can like. Okay. So with the Nintendo Switch 2 that's coming out, I asked myself, will there be like games that are on launch will be kind of like the poster child of the Switch 2, if it will be only available for the Switch 2. So apparently there is. It's called Split Fiction. So let's check it out. Is it worth it to spend $500 to on a fucking Switch 2? So far, no. But like, unless you're really a fan, but like maybe this will change my mind. We'll see.
What I look for in the game is that thing that keeps me there. And it could be the world, it could be just the general mechanic of it all. And then, of course, the real magic is when all of that comes together.
I mean, that is pretty much how my passion for video games started, and not just for me. I think for a lot of developers out there. I mean, Nintendo have come up with a lot of features we see in games today are from Nintendo. Mario Galaxy 2, definitely one of my favorite games ever. I just love the level design. I love the creativity in that game. I 100%ed it. I absolutely love it.
And I think that is a thing when you get sucked in that way, and you just lose track of time and you're in a different place. That's what games can really do in a way that no other entertainment can.
Split Fiction is a co-op only game, so you have to play with someone. And the story in short.
Okay, good. So they lost 70%, like they lost the majority of their potential buyers because like sorry to tell you, man, like people have no it's 20 like it's 2025, man. Like people have no friends these days. Friends to play video games with, bro, like uh, but like It Takes Two was successful. But yeah, no, I gotta tell you, like games like this are so ambitious because of it's so difficult. If you are willing to play a co-op game with me, hit me up on my fucking socials. Fuck, it's difficult. Anyway, yeah, so only co-op. This is a big challenge, but also though, it is more possible on Nintendo Switch. I gotta admit, on Nintendo Switch, it can be interesting. Let's see what the fuck you do in co-op in this game.
Short is about two characters, Miyu and Zoe. There are two writers, and they get to a tech company that can simulate your stories to life. And once they're there, they accidentally end up in the same simulation and have to escape the machine. And you have to play their stories to escape the simulation. The thing is though, one writes sci-fi and the other writes fantasy. So you have to play each other's genre.
This is a cool idea.
I wanted to play something with a friend that wasn't just a drop-in, drop-out. I wanted to play something that had, you know, a narrative we could relate to, a character you could relate to, and also like a story we could experience together. Because you don't do it in gaming. In gaming, often you have your single-player experience, and then you have your co-op. Most of the time, it's a shooter or a drop-in, drop-out, or some kind of like a, you know. So that's where it started.
It comes down to the shared experience. That's the thing. You want to usually watch a movie with someone. You want to go to a concert with someone, and that's the same with playing a game as well. It takes experience.
Yeah, I do want to go to a concert with someone, and I do want to go to watch movies with someone. So if you are someone available, just hit me up. Hit me up. I'm lost in the middle of Europe. We'll figure it out. Like since I broke up with my ex, I need I need someone. Hit me up on my socials. Don't be shy. I'm just joking.
To something else when you do that experience you have with someone else in a game, that would not.
Except for my ex, we really did broke up.
Not be the same unless they are there, because you're interacting with each other. That's what I really love with sharing a gaming experience with someone else.
The whole function with a great co-op, I believe, is to come up with mechanics that feel great and nice to play, and that complement each other in a really nice way, and that puts the player in a way where you have to communicate.
So the opportunities that the Nintendo Switch 2 is giving Split Fiction is basically the core stuff that Nintendo Switch 2 has now, which is, for example, the game chat, where you can really play it without being able to talk to the person you're playing with. So having that as a core feature, we make sure that we know that everyone who plays the game will be able to communicate, of course in couch, but also online. And as you have.
Do you remember all like the videos about like children talking in Fortnite? Take the time to fucking like think about like all the time, like you saw a video on YouTube and you were like, Fortnite, what's all about? Why the fuck did this speak so strange? They speak English, but like it's not the same English that we speak. Like it must be chiller. Like I'm guessing that like the audience that will buy this game will be nicer, but like like I really have no hope when it comes to like community, like doing like community stuff with other people, just because people are just so fucking weird, you know.
We have the game share as well. We know that there's a low barrier to just trying the game out with a friend, so you can really make sure that you get into the game quickly, and then hopefully hook them on it, and you can become those greater friends.
It's a good way to test your relationship.
It really
Actually, co-op will always be part of our DNA. I'm not saying we will only do co-op in the future, but we will always try to push the medium forward of co-op. What can we do there? First of all, we have become a way more experienced team. From a technical perspective, everything looks way better. It plays way better and it runs way better. So this is definitely the next step for Hazelight, and you will see when you play the game.
It is only possible for us to be able to put it out on the Nintendo Switch 2. So to be able to keep bringing our co-op games to a new generation of Nintendo platforms is just great.
Bring it on then! 3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, so I will say a couple things. So releasing this on the on the Switch 2 is actually a great idea because the people on the Switch 2 are not the fucking degenerates that you find on other platforms. So this is first a good idea. Secondly, It Takes Two was really successful technically. So having like a different like for people that really love It Takes Two, having like another game that they can be interested with, like will be something that it's somewhere like if it's good, it will be really good, right? And something like a small detail that like find really cool is that they took because like there was like other games based on cooperation, but they took two girls to actually like as main characters. And I think that like that this is a cool thing, like especially when it comes to video games, when it comes to because like name five video game girls that are like protagonists, right? The main character. It's not a lot. You think about Tomb Raider. Yeah, I think like maybe some character like in your fucking MMO or something, but that's it, right? So I think that like this is really cool because it opens to another audience that like that maybe can find some fun and discover video games just because for once like they told themselves, yeah, let's create like a fucking fiction based on like a girl friendship. And I think that like this is actually really cool. So when it comes to gameplay, I don't know. And the last thing that I will add the last thing that I will add is how is it called? Uh, uh, um, the last thing that I will add is that like the philosophy of game how is it called? The idea of that like you have two different type of like two type of style, let's say, of like progress is something that I really find interesting. Like it is interesting, and I think that like it is cool to see that like maybe it's kind of like this bet where like if it's good, it will be really good. If it's bad, it will be okay. But like yeah, so we'll see. So we'll see. Okay. Uh let's switch. Like right now I'm checking out like all the games like on Switch because like I still don't know if like the you can play it on your good old Switch because like still have mine. It's right there. It's right there on my Switch that like I played for like Tears of the Kingdom. So this is something like I am one like Google research away from that, but yeah. Uh, I see. Silk Song, Hollow Knight Silk Song. I cannot believe it was 6 years ago. 6 years ago, they fucking like promised Silk Song. It's still not released. Let me check. Did I miss the release of Hollow Knight Silk Song? 2025. So I have no confirmed date. God damn it. Okay, so Shadow Labyrinth, Nintendo Switch, like another like with the Switch 2. That's what I thought when I watched the the reveal for like the Switch 2. There will be like a couple games like that will be announced at the same time. So let's check it out. Let's check it out. Okay. Wait, what the fuck? What the wait, what the fuck? So, okay, so it's Pac-Man, but Pac-Man with cosmic horror level, with like basically like, and now there's a dude. Okay, on this one, I don't know what to say. If you're a Pac-Man hater, maybe give this one a chance, I guess. I won't play this one, but like, I'll check out what the fuck is going on. Maybe it's a funny one. Okay, anyway. Well, Shadow Labyrinth, Maze Reveal, what the fuck? Like, it really went hard on Pac-Man? Like, I mean, okay, I mean, fine. I mean, fine, whatever. Fine. Alright. Let me just check something real quick. Okay, so let's keep on going, shall we? So we were at Pac-Man, but the hardcore version for people that wants the edge, yeah. Okay, so this one is interesting. It's actually Final Fantasy. So again, Final Fantasy 7, but kind of like remixed, and it's like the more of the classical Final Fantasy for like the purists out there that still miss the real Final Fantasy 7. Let's check it out.
私が子供の頃ってテレビ、漫画、やっぱゲームっていうエンターテインメントがあったと思うんですけど、やっぱりゲームって見るだけじゃなくて自分でやっぱ介入できるっていうところがやっぱすごく刺激的な他のエンターテインメントとは違う魅力がやっぱりあって、やっぱそれが子供心にすごく強烈なインパクトとして残っていて、大人になったら自分もなんかそういうものを作ってみたいなっていうのをやっぱすごく思わされた記憶が残ってて、本当それがきっかけで今自分もこの場にいるんだろうなっていうのは思いますけどね。やっぱり任天堂のハードって私が子供の頃にやっぱ初めて触れたゲーム機でもあるので、今になっても任天堂のハードというのは特別な感情が私の中にはあります。スイッチ2を初めて見た時はスイッチの上位互換のモデルっていうところにすごく興味を持ちました。ハンドヘルドのタイプと据え置きのタイプを兼ね備えていて、かつやっぱりスペックが大幅に上がっていたので、私が作ってる「ファイナルファンタジー7」のリメイクシリーズっていうのも十分動くパフォーマンスを持っているんじゃないかなっていうところを感じましたので、なのでぜひそれであれば参加したいなっていうふうに思ったのがきっかけでした。開発の仕方も非常にスイッチと親和性が高くて、スイッチの開発ノウハウがあればスムーズに開発が参加できるっていうのは非常に魅力的でしたし、さらにそのハード自体にも非常に多くのロムのメモリが搭載されているので、開発者にとっては非常に開発しやすいハードになっていると思います。で、実際私ももうゲーム開発をしてもう24年経ちますけど、今回初めて任天堂のハードでものづくりをできるっていうところですごく特別な気持ちを持ってますし、それがさらに私がゲーム業界を目指すきっかけを与えてくれたような「ファイナルファンタジー7」のリメイクシリーズであるっていうことはとても運命的な感情を感じています。ファイナルファンタジー7が任天堂プラットフォームで再出発できるということは私にとって非常に大きな意味を持っています。原作の FF7 って1997年に発売されて、そこから20年以上時が流れてこの FF7 っていうのを再創作することになっているので、その当時のゲームで感じた感動とか驚きっていうのを今回スイッチ2を通してもう一回新たに上書いてほしいっていう気持ちがあります。今のスイッチ2のスペックであれば実際にミッドガルをフルスペックで表現することが可能になっています。原作の要素っていうのを何でもかんでも変更するというよりかは、やっぱある程度原作の要素っていうのをリスペクトしてその当時の技術では表現できなかったものっていうのを今の時代のハードで表現できるものっていうのを再創作するっていうところを、一番重要視したというふうに考えています。 携帯ゲームでファイナルファンタジーをプレイできるってことは、それこそまあ会社でも通勤の中の電車の中とかでもプレイできますし、まあ、それを持っていってこう今俺ここまで進んだよみたいな、ちょっとこのイベントシーン見てみたいなのもこうやっぱリアルタイムなこう会話ができたりするじゃないですか。
Just like check this cutscene, check the progress that you. I don't know where the fuck this guy. Well, this guy is working for at Square Enix. Well, like, bro, like, sorry to tell you, but like, normal people they don't fucking go out and they're not. They're like, hey, bro, in the train, bro. Bro, can you check out this fucking cutscene of fucking Tifa? That is fucking like just fucking up and being so fucking like so fucking beautiful. Um, yeah, no, this doesn't happen. This discussion doesn't happen. It doesn't even happen on Discord. So like with your friends. So like a lot of Japanese people, they're just like they are. Maybe in Japan it happens. Maybe between oh yeah, right, that's a game targeting children actually. Yeah, actually children's I do that. Sorry, I'm getting like too fucking like jaded for that, but yeah, no, okay, let's keep on going.
そういうのはやっぱこれまでなかったので、非常にこう携帯機でのファイナルファンタジーっていうのはすごく期待しています。ゲームチャットについてはゲームをプレイしながらこうチャットだったりとかゲーム画面をシェアしたりっていうところで、やっぱりこうリアルタイムでこう友達だったりとかとこうシェアできるっていうのはやっぱ新しいこうゲーム体験につながるかなっていうところを期待しているので、非常に楽しみだなというふうに思っています。FF7 を遊んだことがない人にはまずこうクラウドとセフィロスを知ってもらいたいっていうのがあります。任天堂のスマッシュブラザーズでクラウドとセフィロスって登場させていただいていて、今回このスイッチ2に FF7 リメイクシリーズをこう発表していくことで、こう親子でこうキャラクターのファンになってもらってなんか語り合ってもらえたりとかすると、非常に嬉しいなというふうに思います。
This guy actually says the truth. It's actually true that like there's a lot of people that actually we use. If you see me on the internet or if you see like any of your content creators, usually we are like one good reason away from buying the new console or the new PC upgrade to get to play a game. It is not the case for a lot of people, and there's a lot of people, and I think that like I respect this from like from I don't know his name, the fact that like he understands that like players are actually just normal people, and that like they see Sephiroth, they see Cloud in Smash Bros, and they're like, who are these people? The same way that like I used to fucking like watch in game Mr. Game and Watch, or like there was like some others that like were like really obscure to me. Uh, let me think. Like Kirby, right? And then you get to discover like the game later, right? So this is actually a cool thing, and if it renders this well on a Switch too, I mean it's win-win. Like on this one, like for I don't know for everyone, but like if you get to play fucking like Final Fantasy on the Switch too, this is actually kind of great.
任天堂とファイナルファンタジーのブランドで強いパートナーシップを築いていけることを強く期待しています。
So when I saw the thumbnail, the image, actually, I was thinking that like they were like redoing like uh, turn by turn, uh, turn by turn, type of oh, how can I fucking say it? Like basically that they come back with that they come back with uh mm, 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 uh I will get to this word. Basically, that they come back on this turn by turn that is not like the turn by turn that they basically like re-release Final Fantasy VII the way it was back in the day in place on PlayStation. They don't. They actually re-release. Basically, it's a re-release of the Final Fantasy we got on PlayStation and other like hardware. So this is actually good. This is actually good. I've seen. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, is it worth buying? I'm pretty sure it's worth buying if you actually like don't have like only have a Switch and actually like are part of these people that like don't need more. So yeah. Uh. Okay. I've seen something caught my eye. Something caught my eye. Actually, something really caught my eye though. Um. All right. There is a new Metroid. This is actually interesting. Oh wow!
This is the unknown planet Vyrah. Here, Samus finds a verdant jungle with a colossal tree at its center. In order to survive and escape this planet that she was unexpectedly transported to, Samus must scan stone figures and other relics to carve a path forward. She's not alone, though. Abhorrent, alien creatures living in the jungle are waiting to strike.
Wow!
As she explores the planet, Samus is granted mysterious and ancient powers. Psychic abilities. These powers allow Samus to operate mechanisms and to open doors. They also allow her to control the trajectory of her beams with the power of her mind.
Okay, this is cool.
But why were these powers bestowed upon Samus? And what will be her fate after being summoned to Vyrah? The threads intertwining beyond space and time are beginning to weave a new tale.
Okay, wow. Wait, what is? Okay, wow. This is like on Switch 2 or not even? Wow. Okay, this was the trailer that I wanted to fucking see. This was the trailer that So basically, like the story goes like this. Metroid Prime basically remastered that you can see here, right? Basically, it got released on Switch and it was a fucking like people lost their fucking sanity. People became crazy because it is this good. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is the game that actually like makes me happy to have a Switch, because like this is so fucking like this look fucking dope. Like this look fucking great. Samus Samus Intergalactical Best Girl. Obviously, it was a trick question. Obviously, Samus Best Girl, obviously. But on top of that, like the story, so after the other game that they released, I don't remember, Metroid Metroid um Metroid Dread. So Metroid Dread, what is a game that I actually bought, and I fucking like didn't finish it because I don't want to like, if I need to fucking watch a map, I am kind of like done with like the fucking thing. But like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a game that actually really interests me. What's the release date on this? Actually, Metroid um Prime release dates. So 2025. So it gets released this year apparently. This is the game that I was waiting for. Like out of every game that I saw from like the reveals from like the Switch 2, this is the game that probably should promote the most when it comes to trying to promote the Switch 2, because like Metroid Prime Beyond is an absolute masterpiece. Like it's no question that it's something that will make you feel something, especially if you didn't play the Metroid Prime Remastered. These games are really different when it comes to like atmosphere. Like you can feel it, like when it comes to
In order to
when it comes to atmosphere, when it comes to just check it out, like when it comes to atmosphere, when it comes to like the way you play, the way you interact with the environment and stuff, and the way the environment interacts with you. And so yeah, it is that good. It is that good. It is that good. So yeah, on this one, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Oh, this is a game that I dread. This is a game that I dread. If you like, if you understood, you understood. So yeah, Metroid Prime 4. There is like more to it. So if you want to get into more, I actually don't even want to spoil myself any type of gameplay for this game. I just want to buy the game, get into it, and just like discover it for myself. So yeah, this is the beautiful news that I like, that I was waiting for. All right. Next on we have actually another really, really, really interesting fucking trailer. You will not believe it. The Witcher 4? The Witcher 4? The Witcher 4? Yeah, The Witcher 4 and a series best girl from Scandinavia. Yeah, Siri, best girl from Scandinavia. So let's check it out.
Dearest daughter, I've watched ye grow from a devilishly curious child into a remarkable young lass with much grace, wisdom, and kindness. Take the easy times what shape us, nay. 'Tis how we rise to face the hard times what does that for us. You've an heart of gold. You've the spirit to overcome adversities aplenty. Darling, sweeten. Today's the day ye fill out your destiny.
Forgive me, daughter. 'Twere my only choice.
I shall be the bringer of salvation.
A witcher? Witcher! Whose coin did ye take? Nay, you can't. 'Tis tradition. Chosen she is, by the gods.
No! You chose her. Back to the village. Go, now.
Nay! I must save them! Save the village!
Save yourself! Run! To shelter! To your father! Run!
chosen one. It's tradition.
Oh no, no, no.
It's all we wanted. For her to go to the woods. To go to the gods.
Gods? There are no gods here. There are only monsters.
Wow. Okay, a lot to fucking say. First off, Witcher 4, Witcher fucking 4, finally. Like this is the watch list of the watch list. CD Projekt Red, there are small indie companies that release like small games like The Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk 2077. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy that you play as Ciri and not as a Geralt. I think that like it will be like Ciri is such a much more like fascinating character compared to Geralt. And yeah, she is something. And goddamn, she's beautiful. Goddamn, she's beautiful. I the trailer is this is how you make a trailer. This is how you make a beautiful trailer that really fucking makes you wanna fucking play the game. Like and this is technically like just a side mission within the Witcher universe. Let me check if there is a release date. Um, December shouldn't be expected before December 31st, 2020, December 31, 2026. Okay, so we got to enjoy some bro like friend, this is not before like 2 years. Okay, so we got to enjoy we got to enjoy some this December like December 31st 2026. Okay, well, doesn't matter. I will play it like if I'm not if like I'll play it. This is like there is so many things to say, but I think that like the fact that there is like also so little to say about it speaks it all. I don't know if you understand me, but if you do, uh, good on you. If you don't, well, too fucking bad. Sometimes I'm bad at doing the talking thing, like discussion thing. Anyway, The Witcher 4. What a fucking trailer! What a fucking trailer! Okay. Uh. So let's get into more geek stuff. Um so let's get into some WoW stuff. This is actually important. Um it is quite long. Let me check. It is quite long. It's fine though. It's really important. It's really important. It will reshape World of Warcraft in a way because like it will like make everything within World of Warcraft relevant in a certain way. So this is interesting, and this will give a leeway. So this will give a reason and offer like a logic to actually like revamp or reuse certain assets that were lost in time because the expansion passed and no more expansion. So yeah, let's check this out.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking player housing. The inside
Wow.
and the outside. But
okay, this looks already really beautiful.
we're not just looking, oh no, we are talking about how it feels to actually play it. Because Internet, I have played it. Myself and a handful of other creators were invited to Blizzard's office in Boston. We were invited to interview lead housing designer Jesse Kolenchek, producer Rachel Bassone, take part in a big round table discussion, and also get our hands on the feature itself. So I've played with housing for a good 4 or 5 hours. I've made this absolute masterpiece, I've talked to the devs, and I'm gonna tell you and Evertel all about it now. What it's like, what's there, look at this amazing new footage, and genuinely just have a very exciting, very revealing time. So join us as we
It looks really clean. It looks really clean.
lift the lid on WoW player housing. Okay, go.
Okay, Tally, so I'm hugely jealous.
Good.
Mission accomplished. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I need to know, what is player housing like? Is it everything we have wanted it to be?
I can say right now, okay, that player housing is the biggest, most important, best feature that WoW has maybe like ever had, like since raids or Mythic Plus or something like that. This is a complete game changer.
And I will tell you why, because like they have been like talking about like player housing for a while, because it allows you, especially with the philosophy that they adopted. So basically, the idea is that like everything that you've done in the game, you can basically it becomes a reward that you can reuse and utilize in your housing. So you killed Onyxia, the first from vanilla Onyxia. You can have her head like hanging, like you finished a raid, you completed this a campaign, you are exalted with like a obscure reputation. Well, you get to fucking like have something to show for, and not just like the fucking like success basically like what is called uh achievement for page of your character. And this is really important, and this also like connects with all of the the other expansions, like I said, because like it allows you to, for some players that will build their houses, that will go after certain achievements just because they really want this specific item or this specific like stuff to and it's only available in this expansion. And I think that like overall the gaming cycle, because like when it comes to gaming, you have to understand that like gaming is about creating like cycles within cycles. So basically, to give you an example, within WoW you have like you have your daily quests, objectives, then you have your weekly quests and objectives, then monthly quests and objectives. And they think about that, the game designers, they think about like, what do you do in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year, right? And basically like this allows you to have to kind of break the cycle in a way by having a cycle that is like overarching every other cycles, because it takes from every cycles to allow you to get stuff for your player housing. So this is really a brilliant idea. I actually really love this.
Actually is incredible.
And I think that like maybe the next step would be a guild player housing. That will be like, this will be like the greatest, because a hub for like for guilds, it will be fucking awesome. Like, but this is in the future. Like, I won't go too further, but like this is already fucking awesome.
Like, my mind was absolutely blown. You know, when you're given like access to this, you know, special new thing, my first reaction is to try and break it, right? So I turned around immediately and walked out the front door to see if I could see the outside, stuff like that. I was going through trying to find secret bits of the UI that gave things away, which I did, by the way. You'll see in the interview. I'm very much like a YouTuber. I want to find secret stuff that I'm not supposed to find.
Of course.
But I have to say, within just a few minutes, I was completely caught up in making this interior and this room and actually being in it, and it's so detailed and it's so vast. It can be incredibly simple if you want it to. It can be incredibly detailed if you want it to. The possibilities, this sounds so cliche, but it's true, are endless.
I wonder if they will show the interface that will that allows you to build. Like, this is what I'm curious about.
I guess the best thing I can possibly say is, if you have always wanted player housing in WoW, I don't honestly see any way that this system that I've played doesn't meet your expectations.
Wow. And this is even from just an early build.
Yeah,
right?
because it hits every single box.
What was it like? What was the setup like? What were you allowed to do?
Well, we were placed in a kind of a half-made house. Some of the rooms were decorated to kind of get us started, but then loads of the rooms off of that main room weren't, and we had free reign just to go in there and do whatever we wanted. So we were able to kind of explore the menus and play with placing things. All the shots we've seen of player housing so far have been of like this quite rustic horde or alliance-y kind of look. So the first thing I did was I wanted to change all of that. You can see in these pictures here, you've got like the wooden floor. That's like the standard wooden floor that you start with, and the kind of like the very rustic beams. It looks very alliance-y, doesn't it? It looks kind of very tavern-y on the screen now. Well, it's super easy to change all that. You just click on the floor and then you go to styles, and you've got like folk, which is the alliance one. You've got kind of rustic, which is the horde one. But then you've got a night elf one. You've got a blood elf one. So I was like, yeah, I'm clicking on blood elf straight away. And it instantly changed, as you'll see in my own room, to like these smooth white blood elfy kind of stone tiles, and I did the same on the walls, like the wall bits, and I changed those to blood elf. You could do it on the ceiling, the staircase that I had, that I built my little nook underneath. Instantly, you're able to change the entire style of the inside into whatever racial style you want, or like aesthetic you want.
That's really cool. That was one of the questions I had after seeing some of these original images and footage, because like you say, a lot of them look like taverns. It's kind of a wood look and feel, but I'm like, hey, what if I want like a straight up cohesive night elf style from top to bottom?
We can do that for you. It's all there. And that's even before you get into the decor on the inside. These are like the very building blocks that you're making the room out of. Amazing. And then in the actual decor menus themselves, which I'll get into in a minute, but you can search. I literally just put in Silvermoon and got loads of blood elf things that I would fit naturally into my blood elf room, but you're not limited to any of that, obviously.
Okay, amazing.
And I saw interior pieces that were themed around Draenei stuff, Tauren stuff, Zandalari troll stuff, night elf stuff, goblin stuff, human stuff, orc stuff.
That is really
And this is actually one of the rewards that like Blizzard didn't have to work a lot. Like for player housings, it did have to work a lot. But when you have an IP, so when you have like a game that is running for so long, you have so much how is it called? So much like, what's the fucking term? Well, so much like basically items to work with because of the past expansions, that you can easily, actually, if you take the time, easily add them up, like, because you created already so much. And this is actually really cool, because like sometimes it's good. It's good that the designers don't have to fucking like create a whole new like to reinvent the wheel for us to enjoy some experience, because the content is already here. Is it created enough content for them to be able to just recycle it to give it a new life?
Exciting to hear.
So the first thing I did was switch everything to Blood Elf, but then the second thing I did was I found floor panels, floor kind of like platforms, which you can put anywhere. So we've got a great image here. You see that kind of stepped roof? Above the bookcases in this demo? Well, those are made from individual beams that have been placed in a kind of a step. So the roof to that room is just like level and square, and the designer has just like put in individual beams to make it into a stepped roof. And I took a bunch of these and I stuck them to the wall because I just wanted to check, and I just made a jumping puzzle all around the room. Some were attached to the wall, some were just floating in space. I just want to see if I can jump around here.
Yeah, there was like private servers that were just about like jumping, and basically like jumping. It was like it's kind of like this like adventure where like you need to. It's kind of like a challenge, just like platforming challenges that people used to do on these private servers. It was actually kind of fun when it was well made.
And like make a little platformer sort of thing. And I learned two things. I learned that yes, you can do that.
Nice.
And I learned that I'm terrible at jumping in World of Warcraft. And
Who
I found,
isn't?
Yeah, the entire thing was an incredibly frustrating experience. I quickly moved on from that. But you can.
So in terms of the edit build mode and your character actually being in the house, is there kind of like a seamless transition, or is your character always in there, or do you kind of like pan out and then
Oh no,
build and
you're
zoom
in
back
there kind of walking around the house
the whole time
and placing things, yeah.
Your character has to place things physically in the room?
Not as in I have it in my hand and I have to walk over here and put it. No, your character is in the room at all times, which is really good for scale and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but no, when you select something from a menu, you are moving it within the 3D
and
space.
Then
to the detail of placing individual goblets.
Okay, so this is cool and this is interesting. It's better for you to do it to create your player housing through your character, just like in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, rather than having like a fucking sandbox interface in which that is really cold and that is really like kind of like not lifelike. When if you have your character, it's better. Like doing like creating your player housing experience through your character is better than creating it through like a menu.
And books on bookcases exactly where I wanted them to be. And you have the option of having everything kind of snap to a grid in basic mode, which particularly for putting things on shelves makes it really easy, and you can just kind of pop them in there. And these books aren't all individual. Some books are individual, which you can slot in there, but then some decor options are like rows of books,
of course,
kind of pre-made, which you can slot in there as well.
So anything can go anywhere, and it can be as big or small as you like it
within like very, very generous perimeters.
Okay.
So like you can make a chair kind of proportionately, about this size.
How big can my biggest chair be?
Pretty big. Like you can get literally lost in it, right? Now, at the moment, the chairs lose functionality when you try and sit in them if you change the scale, okay? But you can shrink them down and blow them up. And that goes for anything. The rooms themselves come in a bunch of different shapes and different sizes as well, but also different levels, because of course you can go upstairs and have an upstairs. I think you can have like up to 3 levels at the moment. There are pre-built staircases which are part of some of the rooms that you can pre-select, but of course you can build staircases out of basically anything as well.
So there's this incredible setup here with your like library tower, right, complete with cobwebs and these multiple levels.
This room is built from one of the block patterns. This is built from the same block room that my Blood Elf room that we're looking at is also built from.
It's nice that you have those pre-selected options, because I can imagine, my fear of going into player housing is like you get your little square room and then you put a bed and a bookcase and a nightstand in it. And you're like, what else do I do? But them giving you these kind of pre-made options that you can then tinker with and play with, that opens up like so much.
Yeah, pre-made is something that helps a lot of players. Do you know why you're not like a fucking like interior designer? Because you didn't choose to. Do you know what the fuck what the fuck it takes to build a beautiful home? Being an interior designer, or really take the time to fucking think about it. Okay, so yeah, it's great that you have like basically like pre-mades, yeah, like something that you can like already build yourself from. I agree with that.
So much more creativity, I think.
Absolutely.
So when you had a look in the interface at all of the things you could choose there, like filtering them by style, using keywords from the metadata.
Everything was kind of separated out into, there was like literal building stuff, which is your platforms and your columns and things like that. And then you had lighting. Each category has like subcategories.
I'm wondering what's the outside? Is this like a garrison, or like can you have neighbors?
So you went into lighting and you had lamps, you had wall hangings, you had sconces. And you can see some of the different options in this picture here. You can see the hanging chandelier type things coming down. You can see like lanterns on the staircase, and you got the Zandalari troll lantern there as well. Kind of candelabras.
Open fires.
And different candles. Every bit of furniture that you have, it has multiple uses. It has its intended use, and then it has all the different things you can do as well. So, for example, Jay was showing us, he did like a live room build as a little example for us. And he was like, what should we do? Let's make a restaurant. And so he literally made like a diner, like a Pandaren diner. He got out all these Pandaren
this is
tables.
cool.
He put these candelabras on them like that. So, and they didn't look freestanding anymore. And then he made like a whole oven. And what he did was he used like a kind of a fireplace grating. And he put that down like a kitchen cabinet sort of thing. And then he got, it was like a crate with an iron top on it. And he like clipped that through the table. So only the top of the crate was showing through the top of the table, which made the stove top. And then he took a bunch of barrels, which had like round tops, and shrunk them down and clipped them through the top of the stove top as hobs. And it was just incredible. It was just amazing. And you can create basically anything you want to. I looked across at the guy who was designing his room next to me as I was making this beautiful silver moon kind of reading nook.
Nice.
And he just had Anixia, you know, Anixia's head?
Yeah.
He just had that on a spit. He got like a fire, an open fire. He put that down. He found like some steel frame thing and he put that on. And then he just put Anixia's head on it. And he just had Anixia's head on a spit.
Incredible.
There was someone in our group who had made like a wrestling ring. In the room, and they'd put out like audience seats and stuff as well.
Brilliant.
And they'd made this wrestling ring. It wasn't conceptual. It was like obviously a wrestling ring.
That is what it is. So you see all these really nice animated features, like in the lighting, like lanterns are flickering, the cobwebs are like wafting in the wind, and then there's this amazing kind of like flying book feature in the middle of this room as well, which I love. Were there some really cool like animated ones there that you got to see?
Yes. So there was lots of animation on the lights, although not all of them had been enabled to animate. Not all of them had been enabled to actually illuminate either.
Okay,
but they will be.
Yeah.
I think most of the lights are going to be interactive, so you can click on them to turn them on and off as well.
Oh, this is
I know
cool.
you definitely do that with the candles too, and the fireplaces and things like that. There are loads of items which have inbuilt interactivity in them as well.
That was going to be my next question.
There's items that we found in the catalog, stuff like a guillotine.
No.
It's called the Gilnean Problem Solver.
No.
Yeah, and it's a guillotine, and obviously you can interact with it and goes vroom, like that. Okay, it's absolutely amazing. There are.
Do you think that's going to make it to the final build?
1,000,000%. Yeah. Why would you go to the problem of making it if you didn't? There's a literal dark iron mole machine.
Yes.
There was this amazing bookcase, and one of the devs came up to me and was like, "Hey, you know that's interactive?" And I was like, "Ooh!" So I came out of the menu and I clicked on it, and it like opened up, and it was a secret door.
Oh.
There's like goblin kind of machines
of course
that you click on, they start spinning around and
That's
things like
that's
that. In
really
fact,
cool.
there is a whole like interactive section in the menu where you can specify and find those things. And something which is really interesting, which I ask about in my interview, most of the
let me just check one thing real quick. Right.
books are just like books. They're items, right?
Yeah.
They just are for decoration. One of them I noticed was interactive. And when I placed it, I could click on it, and it was the Story of the World tree from Belemeth, that book that we found in Belemeth. Do you remember?
Yes.
Which we've done literal lore videos about, okay? But it was that. And so you just clicked on it, and it opened up your reading pane.
Yeah.
Just like if you clicked on it in Belemeth, and you could read that book. And you can place that book in your bookcase.
In your library.
As
it were.
So you're going to have to watch my interview where I asked Jesse if that's going to be a thing. And it's going to be like, when we click on a book in the open world, will that enter our catalogue? And then we can place that in our house, because that would literally solve a thing that I personally have been asking for since the beginning of time. And so if you're going to have to watch the interview.
I will.
Yeah, this will be interesting, and give us second breath to like these like readables that like no one reads except me and a couple other people that are mega fans.
I have to now.
Potentially, all of these bookcases could be filled with literal interactable books that you've collected through the world, and that you can be like, which book shall I read today? And then literally click on it to interact it. I did notice other items that were marked as being interactive, but that I couldn't interact with. So lots of crates and stuff that got like the interactive symbol over them.
I noticed things like weapon racks.
Great one. Another thing I ask about in my interview. So the weapon racks, there was two. There was one which was a floor standing one, as you'd imagine, and there was a wall one as well. But none of them had weapons on them, which is a bit useless for a weapon stand, right? So yeah, I do ask about that in my interview as well.
Of course. Also looking about, there's loads of like kind of paintings and artworks on the wall.
I would say there's a selection of about 8 or 10 in the menu that we were playing with. I would expect there to be lots more when this feature goes live. One of the things that all of this was about was not just to show us this thing, but to steal ideas off us as well, right? And another idea that I had was, wouldn't it be great if you had the option to create a self-portrait of your character?
How could you not?
Well, I mean,
how could you not?
Exactly. Your player portrait
This is a good idea.
already appears in your health bar in the standard game interface. All they'd have to do is put like a little filter over it or something to make it look painty or whatever. Or maybe you'd have a choice of filters and you could create a portrait of yourself. The devs were incredibly open to these ideas and jotted a lot of them down, and were like, well, now you mention
really
it, actually,
promising.
that sounds like a good idea.
Okay, I have to talk about this frame because there's a lot going on here that I'm really interested in this kind of like cozy hoard like bar space.
Yeah.
We've been talking about interactable items. Can you cook and or eat food in your house? Will you be able to like level up your cooking?
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, so this is really interesting. We talked about this in the round table. How much functionality is there going to be in these things? And it was made very clear to us that there wouldn't be a thing.
This is really important because as much as like player housing is nice to watch, is nice to interact with, it's nice to have a house. If you cannot like really interact or do progress within like your own house, well, it takes away a lot of purpose and takes away a lot of fun. So yeah, if I understood correctly, you can even like use your basically have like your profession like well, basically your forge or your benches to interact with. So but we'll see let's see.
Like a bank.
What I'm curious is that like, since this will be probably in the game, what else can you interact with in your house?
Or an auction house. This is their philosophy. There's nothing that you get from auction house. Very clear to us that, there wouldn't be a thing like a bank or an auction house. This is their philosophy.
No bank,
There's
no
nothing
auction house.
that you get from housing that is going to help you in other parts of the game, right? So there's never going to be, I have to do this because I play Mythic Plus and this is going to help me in Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
Mythic Plus will award stuff for player housing,
Yeah.
but you'll never need to do player housing to optimize yourself.
To progress in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
This
They
is
do
a
seem to be
good
quite open
philosophy.
to sort of interior personal functions. The example Jesse uses, basically if it can be done with a toy, it's probably okay to put in a house.
Ooh,
so
okay.
there are like barbershop toys where you can, change your appearance and stuff like that. There are
mailbox toys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There are like little mini game toys, a cooking fire, a mailbox. I've just noticed this isn't on the outside footage that we've got to use in this video, but something I have seen on outside footage is a summoning stone outside houses as well. There is that kind of functionality there, but I think they really, really want to avoid stuff like the mine, something like auction house, bank. As I said in the roundtable, I feel like there might be an argument for having that stuff in neighborhoods, but not in individual player houses.
What about dyeing and color changing?
I'm so glad you asked. Okay, when people talked about dyeing and color changing in the information that we've had in Blue Post before, I was like, yeah, cool, but it's not something I'm interested in at all. It's so awesome. You have no idea. It's so great. Like, basically all of the new assets that have been made for player housing, and that will be basically every asset ever made in the game from now on.
Okay, so this is great because the interface, it will change over time, but it is, when it comes to like fucking coloring and stuff, it's important to have enough choices, but also to be simple enough. Choice paralysis is something that like happens a lot, and if you have like the whole fucking like a specter of color, people don't know what to do with it. But if you have like something simplistic like this is the right balance.
Okay.
Because whenever designers make assets, they're gonna make them for player housing in mind. This is one of the reasons why it's actually quite hard to put the older assets in. They intend to put all the older assets in, but like a lot of them don't have like a bottom. Because they were never made to
or
be
a back,
yeah,
right?
or a
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
They're never made to be seen in a 3D spec. Like they're going to be placed quite specifically, right?
Yeah.
So in much the same way that when they enabled flying, they had to go and put roofs on a lot of stuff. With the old assets, they quite often have to go and put like a back or a bottom on them. But all of the new stuff is going to be dyeable, so many different shades, and obviously all these going to be made from alchemy and from different ingredients and sold on the auction house and stuff like that. And before, and you can go through all the colors of the dyes that you have in your inventory and see a preview of the item, and before you click on dye, it's like, this will use one of your dyes. You are spending resources on getting these things. So you see this like kind of like fireplace thing in the
This is also a good thing that like you actually use active resources to build your house. It's like it's kind of tedious, but this actually like this type of tedious is actually good, a good type of tedious, because it allows you to actually keep playing the game and not feeling like you're outside of WoW and playing actually like a WoW-like game, because like your resources are still taken in account and what you do outside of the game still matters when you are within your territory, your house.
Just above my head on this photo here. Like, so customizability wise, color wise, you'd be able to change like the color of the metal, you'd be able to change the color of the wood, and you I think in this case you'd be able to change the little color of the blue accent as well. So how awesome is that?
Is there anywhere you could put like written things? Got to put like a live, laugh, love somewhere.
Okay, so this was
actually like, in this house we do not farm crests in the house.
This was people getting a real insight into your own personal style.
Yeah.
They were like, it would be nice to be able to have someone's house name or something outside, or because this was brought up when I brought up the player portrait thing. And they were like, yeah, we thought about letting people make their own signs and stuff, but
problem is that like people act like children, and they will write the most heinous and disgusting stuff if Blizzard allow it.
You can't let people do that.
I know. It's just something that's instantly going to be abused.
Well, exactly. And we were talking about the idea of maybe a guest book that you can put, that people can sign if they come and visit your house and things like that. And again, it was like they might just be able to print their name or something like that. It seems unlikely that people will be able to actually leave messages.
Is there any correspondence between what your house looks like on the inside and what it looks like on the outside?
No.
None.
No.
So I could just have a room full of windows and that won't register on the outside at all.
So some things I've managed to ascertain from like talking to devs and stuff is there will be a loading screen when you go through your front door.
Okay, makes sense.
So neighborhood's a bit more up in the air at the moment with all that stuff.
Okay.
But when you go through your front door, there will be planned at the moment a loading screen. So it's not going to be like a delve where you just walk straight in. And the reason for that is because it is the word I heard mentioned a million times by devs, which you will never hear them mention in any official correspondence for obvious reasons, is TARDIS, right? This idea that it's just completely different, right?
Okay.
So where you place the windows, it's not like they're going to appear on the outside wall or anything like that. Another interesting thing that came out of my interview, which you definitely watch, is that the quality of light that comes through the windows doesn't change.
Okay.
So it won't like represents the server time or anything
cycle,
like that. Yeah. What Jesse said is it gives you control over how a certain space looks. You don't want to put a window in and achieve a certain type of light for the desired effect that you want, only for that to change.
Yeah.
I think it would be
Yeah, it's a shame that like you don't get to see nighttime in your house, but you know, like at this point, maybe it will change with time.
nice to have maybe some windows that do that.
I would like a customization option for the window when I put it in to say, what type of light do you want coming in?
Yeah.
So we'll be looking at the room you made in just a moment, but I have to talk about exteriors first. I have so many questions.
It's so great.
It looks incredible. Okay, so first off, there are loads of people wondering about.
Okay.
Is this just like kind of a fun Blizzard thing?
Okay, well, let me talk you through like our experience of the exterior.
Yeah, tell me about it.
We had all the footage that you're seeing here was basically just on a video that was playing on a loop on big screens throughout the room where we were doing our interior stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like
just boring into your mind.
yeah,
It's
totally.
being
And you know,
absorbed.
and it was all these pictures of the interior, but also of the exteriors as well. And of course, this is the first we've seen of it, like in-game assets of an actual neighborhood and what it's going to look like. And so we were like, "Are we going to get that footage?" And someone said, "Yes."
It's like I can like I see the exterior and I'm like, where the fuck the player housing in WoW would be the most fucking messed up. I'd say like the Firelands, like the Ragnaros raid. Like inside the Firelands, you have your little house just like this, or in the Nether, like or let's say next to the fucking like sword of Kil'jaeden. Like that will be fucking funny to have your house next to the fucking sword of Kil'jaeden and Silitus. Like, let me think of a last one. That will be really fucking funny to have Black Rock Mountain. Like anywhere near Black Rock Mountain. Like
And we were like, "Whoa!" So just like the idea that we can sit here and watch this is stunning. I want to say I've also seen other pictures of exteriors which we
or any under or Nyalotha, right? So the sunken city, like basically like next to the sunken city, you have your sunken house.
haven't been given, right? So I've seen a render of the Horde neighborhood as well.
Yes, I was gonna ask.
And the thing that I would mention is how interesting the biomes are, that you're not getting in this. So there is lots of different styles within the neighborhood, and they're pretty big, the neighborhoods as well. I think Horde players at the moment, there is a worry in their mind that it's going to be just a dusty Durotar kind of place. But I think Horde players will be very, very pleased with how lush the Horde neighborhood is. Like there's a lot of Ashara trees, there's coast, there's rivers, there's beautiful like levels and leaves and ponds and stuff like that. It looks really awesome. There is a dark kind of Forsaken-y bit. There is like a dusty, deserty bit in it as well. There is a lot of stuff that when we talk about the neighborhoods here that we can like observe, a lot of it is going to be kind of only observation, but we do have some specific information that we've got out of these interviews as well.
Okay. So my first question about these neighborhoods and your exteriors, how dense are they? Like, do you get a kind of a big plot? Do you get some houses like out in a farmyard, or are they all grouped together? How does that look?
Great question, because I had the exact same question. And it's actually really, really interesting. Some of these houses are quite secluded and out in a little corner somewhere. But the shot that is really exciting, I think, is what you might describe as the village square. square or whatever, where there are lots of houses quite densely packed together, actually. And like you really do have neighbors there. And when I talked to Jesse about that, he was like, yeah, this is absolutely intentional. You know, if you want a nice secluded hermit hut somewhere, you can. And if you want to be more in like the social hub of the neighborhood, you know, you can. I love that they've done that.
This is actually awesome because having neighbors maybe will be the some as a way to actually for people to actually socialize within WoW that like was never seen before because like why not? Like,
are there bigger and smaller plots? Because that's going to create some.
I mean, so it looks on this footage like some of them have a bit more outdoor space than others, but I don't think that's the intention. I think you essentially can have the
standard.
amount, the standard amount of space outside to kind of place things. Inside doesn't matter, of course.
My understanding is that in this kind of like Alliance, Elwyn style neighborhood, houses will have a similar vibe, more or less, and you'll be able to kind of customize them within that overall style. Or would I say be able to build like a Silver Moon style house, you know, within this neighborhood?
That was a question they wouldn't answer.
Oh.
But it's clear from the footage that, as suspected, no. Everything in this kind of Alliance neighborhood is going to be a human-style house, right? Like I say,
I've coherence,
like
right?
I've seen like different kind of bell towers and stuff, and different chimneys and different roofs and things like that, and different like adornments outside. So I think there is going to be lots of customization that you can have from the footage that we've seen and that I've seen.
yeah, it's important to not make it too complicated because like one of the mistakes that they can do at release when it comes to housing is offering way too many options to people. Like this is actually good, and maybe in the future you get to have like more options depending on how popular it is. But this is a good start.
Yes, there is a consistent look and style of the house, and that was the same in the render of the Horde one that I saw too. Although I am looking at this right now, and there definitely does seem to be like a night elf themed kind of building in the corner there, doesn't there?
There does.
And that would appear to shit in the mouth of everything that I've just said about exterior buildings, wouldn't it?
So in this shot in particular, I spy something that looks like maybe a bit of a garden shed or maybe even a bit of a stable.
Was
there any indication on those?
Very interesting. Obviously, there was a lot of questions about mounts and pets.
Stable. Like, can rethink about like how many fucked up looking mounts you have, and place them in Elwyn Forest. Like, you know, the fucking weirdo looking dragon or like the fucking mites that you fucking can mount. You put it in the stable right there, like just right there, like like. A lot of fun options to look really fucking weird, huh?
Pets,
absolutely,
and things like that.
They gotta live somewhere.
Exactly, and like devs have a way of confirming stuff without actually confirming stuff, or denying stuff without actually denying stuff. You know, they're very cagey, but you can usually glean what they mean. And yeah, obviously we're gonna have like a stable for mounts. When someone talked about placing, you know, pets like furniture sort of thing around the house, they just nodded very effusively, and they were like, yeah, we want your house to feel lived in. Bringing your space alive is something that they said quite a lot. I feel from their responses they definitely intend to allow pets walking around. And another thing I asked in the round table, can our alts be like furniture? So when you're on one character, you have like your alts wandering around as well.
Or just like sitting around a table.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Just moaning about how they're not being played.
And they were like, the response that I made out was just to pets walking around.
Yeah.
Was actually to my question about alts. And they were like, yeah, we want the space to feel lived in. Yeah. We don't want it to be a solid tableau.
The pets is,
you know,
pets
they
is
didn't
good.
say, yes, your alts will be able to walk around the home and you'll see them when you're on one character and they'll be there. But they said yes. So like I say, that might change, but they basically said yes.
Time to transmog all of my alts. Oh my god.
How exciting is that? Well, the thing is, right, so we now have clarification that there is, in fact, per account, there's one home that you can have which is Alliance and one home that you can have which is Horde.
Okay,
so like,
makes sense.
Your Alliance home is the home to all of your Alliance. So it makes sense that they should be in there, inhabiting the space.
Absolutely. So we see loads of buildings kind of in this neighborhood, and presumably there'll be, player housing. Are any of those spaces meant to be communal spaces?
There was a guy there called Toby, and when he introduced himself, he's like, "Yo, I'm Toby. I make neighborhood content." And Jesse was like, "That's a spoiler, by the way."
Neighborhood content.
There is neighborhood content, and something that we all mentioned was like, is there going to be like communal space here? And again, whenever we asked anything about neighborhoods and how they work, basically, we were told that's something we're going to talk about later. But again, it definitely seems like that is going to be the case.
Okay.
I really hope that it's the case, because this will be a good way to actually make people socialize within the game, outside of like just walking around the main cities. Like, this will be actually really great, and it will be like in a environment atmosphere that is not like fucking like this just like overly toxic, but also overly like competitive, just people chilling, living,
If it wasn't the case before, I think it's definitely going to be the case now, after everyone at the summit was like, "Can we have this, please?"
Please.
And I've got to say, it does certainly look that way from these shots here that we can see.
I mean, I imagine, particularly if you have like a guild neighborhood, a guild hall, right? Like we've kind of talked about this before in other videos and podcasts, like a hall where you as a guild like can congregate. Maybe you have some items related to like your guild achievements that you can put up in there, or raids or keys, but also like kind of more semi-open spaces like a tavern, just like a place where people could just wander in at any point and just feel a bit more communal, like a stage, a theater.
I completely agree. And like, so I think stuff like tavern, a stage, like a bandstand or something.
Bandstand.
Or even like an amphitheater or something like that, a dueling ring. All of these things I think would be tremendous to have. They didn't turn around and go, "No, that's not our plans at all." So it feels like that is something that on some level is going to happen. I asked Toby, "Are you planning on a seasonal approach to neighborhoods and neighborhood content?" And he was like, "Absolutely." So they are working hard with holiday teams and stuff like that. And it feels like, just going by what they said and what Jesse has said, that I've heard him say as well, it feels like there might be, for example, seasonal challenges and stuff like that. Like you can,
this is great.
Like, everyone in the neighborhood will get something really cool if, say, for example, everyone in the neighborhood puts a certain type of tree outside,
or does
at the same time, or something like
in
that.
some way.
Exactly.
This is really cool.
That's kind of like the idea that I kind of gathered from the very cagey responses people were giving.
I love the idea of kind of seasonal outdoor decor as well. Like, people are going to love decorating their neighborhoods for Wintervale. Communal spaces would be really appealing for guilds, for friends, for people who want to hang out. Role players, is absolute like paradise.
Okay, so role players is a thing I specifically asked about because obviously role-playing servers work on different rules to normal servers. They have slightly bigger shards, but they also have like quite strict rules on things like naming conventions and the way you interact with other players. And I was like, are you going to be mixing RP players with non-RP server players in neighborhoods, or will neighborhoods be kind of, the only people in this neighborhood are from RP servers? Because
this will be
otherwise
great.
you're going to have RP players coming into contact with players that don't have to follow certain naming restrictions for their characters, that don't have to follow certain restrictions with how they interact with other players and stuff like that. Jesse assured me that they are working hard on how they're approaching RP server neighborhoods, which definitely suggests that RP servers will have their own neighborhoods, and so all the rules of RP servers will apply within those neighborhoods.
That makes sense.
Something we do definitely
this
know,
is
which
interesting.
There will be NPCs working
I was
around
going to
as well.
ask.
Okay, so I mean, one thing that Jesse kind of mentioned in the PAX panel was this idea of, you can complete a quest, and that might result in the quest giver, if they're a certain vendor or something, becoming a fixture in your neighborhood.
Do you get the impression that there might be any kind of major lore characters who can hang out in your neighborhood? Like, could we have Xalatath, literally just chilling in the bar? Okay, I figured it'll be more like minor characters, like, hey, I'm the blacksmith, I'm just chilling, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Callie, you have been extremely enthusiastic about player housing as a whole, about everything we've seen so far. I have to ask, is there anything that you came across that didn't really like hit the mark for you, or that let you down?
Yes. There's some concerns I do have. I think
That's
the
a good
system is
question.
incredible. And I want to make that very clear. One thing I noticed that was when I opened the inventory to see all the stuff that I can place within the room, there was a shop icon on the inventory, which I...
Okay, I will stop this right here. Blizzard is a company that actually need to make money to keep on growing. It's nothing like we are not living in a simulation. Hopefully we do, because like if we do, I get to play video games for all eternity. But like basically like the shop option, it's normal. People do not care as much. Like I'm on the side of, please stop complaining about like a game that costs basically zero. Like, do you understand like how many fucking updates they have, how many fucking peoples they have? Please don't complain about like a fucking shop option, especially for like people that are like just like willing to spend some money, some extra money for some extra thing. And the only thing that I'll complain about when it comes to that is when it comes to shops, I saw this before. Please, the only thing that I'll complain about the shop and Blizzard is the fact that they don't do enough shop like item selling related to charity. Like this is something that is actually like should be more should be it was done and it was done multiple times, but I think that this should be a staple at this point, because like people will buy and it will feel better for everyone. And but at the same time, yeah, the shop option, obviously there will be a shop option, obviously. Like please, I hope I hope he doesn't fucking go on a rant about it, because like it's like at this point, like it's not your like it's not that, it's really not that bad.
It wasn't functional, but which I had it confirmed to me is intended to link to the in-game store. Look, I'm not someone who like rages about the in-game store or whatever. Like they are going to sell so much stuff on the store for this. But if this goes live, it would be the first direct button link to the in-game shop within the game's actual interface. Usually you have to go to like your exit screen with the options, the edit mode, and you can click onto shop there, right? So you have to like, it's not integrated into an in-game UI. So to like open your inventory in the house, and obviously they want you to go like, oh, I need a thing, and you click on the shop, right? I think that's intrusive. I don't like it. I think it's a step too far. I don't know how much control they have over that, the devs we spoke to be perfectly honest. But what they did say was that they are taking the same philosophy with player housing items that they take with transmog and mounts, which basically means if something is a store item, it won't be the case that it's like something that appears in game, and the store is another way of getting that. It will be like, this is a store item. It's not like you can't be bothered to get it in games, so you get it in the store thing. And that is an important differentiation.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew it was gonna happen, but actually having that confirmation doesn't feel so great.
The other thing that I didn't like was not something I saw, but something that was explained to me. I asked specifically, these zones, are you going to add new landmass to the in-game kind of map? Are they going to appear on the map? Will you be able to, for example, see it from Stormwind?
Right.
And it's not, for example, like the way you currently get to Silvermoon, where you have to fly through a cave entrance like this big to get into like this whole like zone. Yep. And they were like, well, you'll be able to see like an abstraction of it. And I was like, will you be able to fly straight into it like you can with garrisons? And Jesse said, I don't know. TBC.
Okay.
When I asked in the round table, it felt much more likely that it's going to be like another loading screen to get into your neighborhood.
Okay.
Which... whatever, man.
Hey.
So that was like,
That's
even more in the
not too
shop,
bad.
that was like my biggest disappointment. And it's not even made yet. The thing they're describing isn't even there.
So we've had a proper look now at the interiors of housing, the exteriors as well, a little bit about the neighborhoods and functionality there, seeing how things work, and even had a taste of Tally's own interior design ability.
This is what I managed to make, and I enjoyed every single second of it. And I can see myself tinkering with player housing literally forever. Like, it's going to be one of those things where, you know, sometimes you just might want to change your style. You might just enjoy the gameplay of putting this stuff together. You might want to like redesign an entire space around a cool new thing that you've collected.
Yeah, if he can do that, like I'm pretty excited to see also like the community aspect of people like just sharing what they built with their player housing. This is a side of video games that like a lot of people cannot miss, but for me it's always an enjoyment because like I follow I follow what the community does, and it will be an enjoyment to actually like see what cool things people can create and what beautiful things they can create for their housing.
Absolutely.
You know,
Because at the end of the day, it's an artistic exercise, and this is actually good, really good for health.
think if they weren't planning it before, I think I've definitely convinced the team to award literal trophies for certain things like Gladiator and like Keystone Legends, stuff like that.
If you can have like a cool mount,
like
or,
a literal,
you should have a trophy.
Exactly,
right?
a literal trophy which you can then put and display in like a trophy cabinet or a shelf or something like that. So yeah, you might get your Gladiator trophy and you want to display that in your house, and so it's like, oh, I need new. I've got.
Yeah, or like basically a tablet with like an achievement, and you can choose the achievement, and when you put your mouse over it, right, you get to see what achievement you are exposing. That could be cool.
So many trophies now, and now I've got to.
If I had one of those, my house would literally just be a room with like a giant trophy in
Well,
the
that's
middle.
exactly what I said. I was like, look, I've only got one. Can I just make it really big?
Huge. Yeah.
I think there is content here to the level that anyone wants it. And that's why I think it's so brilliant. I think there's enough here for people who don't care about housing to engage with it in a completely minimal way and still enjoy it. I think more importantly, there is room for people to just sink themselves into this completely. I cannot explain properly how good I think this is. I'm genuinely blown away by it. I think it's magical. I loved seeing what everyone had done within the space that we saw. I can't wait to see some of the incredible things that the community does with this. Interactive things, but also just really imaginative spaces and communal things.
I was really excited at the idea of player housing and like the whole concept. And it's kind of amazing now seeing things that I was hoping for, my expectations being met, but also kind of wildly exceeded. That's really exciting. Seeing the actual like style templates being there is really promising and really cool. All in all, it looks incredible, and I'm really excited to give it a go.
I've said in this video, if you were looking forward to player housing, I don't think there's anything here that you will actually be disappointed with in terms of the interiors and the decor and stuff like that. Maybe I'm wrong though. If there is something that you are disappointed by and that you think is failing in some way, let us know in the comments below. And if there's something that you've seen here which you're super excited about, let us know in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks,
if you like
guys.
this video, don't thank us. Thank Blizzard, who allowed us to come out and play all this and see it for ourselves.
Excuse me, us, you.
Yeah, it's true. Thank our
Okay, so this was, thank you so much, Talisin and Avital. Let me just check what the fuck they do usually. Like player housing, Soul Saga. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, subscribe to Talisin and Avital. This was actually like quite a fucking great video. Talks about player housing. Nothing more much to say. Like, I'm excited to see this. I'm just excited to see player housing, but also like how the community reacts to it, what will happen after that, and how the game will go from there. Because as I said, like player housing will be able to connect every expansions from original WoW, so Azeroth WoW, to the latest expansion together. And this is what is really revolutionary. And also like this, the social aspect, because like the neighborhoods is something that I didn't thought about, but like if you get to have a neighborhood, this is actually really good because people will get a reason to socialize. They'll have neighbors and they'll talk to them, like they'll have like reasons to fucking like get into that and get into like trying to socialize, trying to make friends, and outside of bashing themselves in competitive content and being angry and stressed out all the time. So yeah, this will be great. I'm really excited for like player housing. Uh, okay. I will check this one out. I have like a couple more. Let me just do this. Mm.
Why is every
Let me just check if my microphone is still on. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So let's get into some more
Why is everybody saying that the Oblivion remaster isn't well optimized? Probably just console peasants jealous that they'll never have the power that my glorious PC has. Old video game graphics, and particularly old 3D video game graphics, have fascinated me for a really long time because they consistently lie to your face and look great while doing it. While it's certainly convenient having the power of ray tracing at our disposal, which undeniably looks shadow-tastical, I think there's definitely been a drop in picture-perfect strategy when it comes to the visuals of modern video games.
antagonists in the background by the skewed by the smog and dust kicking under their feet, giving a sense of danger to the player. Their figure is slightly darker than their surrounding. Main character in the foreground, minimal environmental distraction adding importance and interest.
Since we have the power now to load so many assets into one area. I mean, seriously, how are game developers supposed to cram an open 3D environment on a console that only had 128 kilobytes of RAM and 64 kilobytes of video memory? Oh, I hope Nvidia didn't hear that. The Super Nintendo was the first Nintendo console to feature 3D games, but the console couldn't actually handle 3D. The SNES had 7 graphics modes, and most of the console's 3D games utilized Mode 7. Mode 7 allowed a background layer to be scaled and rotated in a way that emulated true real-time 3D. Using this graphics technique, developers could put 2D sprites over the seemingly 3D environment to simulate a believable virtual landscape. In Super Mario Kart, Nintendo's sprite artists drew so many different angles of the characters so that they appeared natural while turning, or if they were being seen from an unconventional perspective. So even though the new 3D graphics thing was cool, it was incredibly time-consuming. So Miyamoto Mario Kart Nintendo said, "Gentlemen, the SNES can't run 3D, and it is costing us time that we could spend making actual 3D games. What we need is a new video game cartridge that is more powerful than our console's built-in processor." Star Fox was the first game to utilize the Super Effects chip, or as it was known by its codename, Mario. Mathematical, agronaut, rotation, and input-output. The Super Effects chip shot Nintendo right back into the innovation playing field because it allowed the SNES to load multiple 3D assets at one time while still utilizing the console's built-in 2D functions. Star Fox on the SNES is instantly recognizable because of the visual enhancements of the Super Effects chip. Enemies, buildings, allies, you, and certain props are all true 3D models, while the background and effects are two-dimensional. The background rotates and corrects itself based on where you are positioned, and to sell the innovation of true 3D even more, Agronaut designed the sound to change volume depending on how close you are to a sound source. Using the, official SNES, I can show you guys how Nintendo and Agronaut utilized the SNES's layering system to create an authentic 3D environment. As we can see, they used the traditional Mode 7 graphics technique to render the two-dimensional background, that, as I stated earlier, adjusts itself to the player's position. Another layer was used for the HUD, and last but definitely not least, the Super Effects chip's 3D models and effects are resigned in its own layer as well. When I first learned about Star Fox's very interesting development, my first thought was, is this the same Nintendo that I know? But to clear the air, it is in fact the same Nintendo we all know and love, because the innovative 3D technology stuff was done by Agronaut, while Nintendo was responsible for the plot and general design of Star Fox. So moral of the story, Nintendo will never change.
本当に剣と盾を持っているという意味、右手を振れば So if you just shake your right.
But speaking of Nintendo, I think now's the perfect time to talk about their 3D-oriented console, the Nintendo 64, and specifically the most graphically demanding game on it, Skyrim. Perfect Dark was a first-person shooter developed by Rare and one of the 28 M for mature 17+ games released on the system. It's also one of those games that was so ahead of its time, it resulted in half the employees leaving the studio after development because of burnout, and in kind of a f***ed up way, just screams good media. It's common for video games at the end of a console's lifespan to stretch the capabilities of what the system can handle, and Perfect Dark is an excellent example of that. The first level takes place on the top few stories of a skyscraper in the middle of a dystopian city. Throughout the level, the inaccessible exterior remains loaded in, so you can still see the skyscrapers from really far away. The N64 is only able to handle this because the skyscrapers are textures placed perpendicular to each other, so from where the player is allowed to explore, they appear as full-fledged buildings. Unlike its spiritual predecessor, GoldenEye 007, the game features a more advanced lighting system that adjusts where certain areas lighten up and go dark depending on what's happening, like if a gun is being fired or if there's a light nearby. Perfect Dark also handled exterior rendering in a strategically optimized way by allowing transparency on windows only when the player was a couple feet away. If the player goes too far, the windows become dark and turn into a texture that moves depending on where the player sets the camera. Interestingly enough, physically moving doesn't affect the texture, only the camera does. While it looks like a big black dump because I'm playing at 1440p at the intended 480i resolution, the effect still looks like dog shit, I can't even lie. The reason that this game was able to accomplish so much on the Nintendo 64 was because it pretty much required the expansion pack for the console, which added an extra 4 megabytes of RAM to the console's base 4 megabytes. Like I said before though, on a scale of Valve to Rockstar, Perfect Dark's development was definitely more Rockstar, so a lot of content ended up getting cut from the final product. The multiplayer mode, which surprisingly enough still holds up well today, originally had a feature where you could take a picture of someone's face with the Game Boy camera and upload it to the game to slap on the models of the multiplayer characters. After Rare realized they would have absolutely no control over who somebody decided to use as a face to shoot at, they cut it out and still to this day believe it was the right decision. I don't think it was the right decision. But that doesn't mean it wasn't still impressive by 2000 game standards. Windows could be smashed, couches could be moved, people would dynamically speak with the player. In the last year of development, the studio acquired tech for motion capture, which was used for a variety of the animations. And in some cases, the limitations of the N64 actually helped the game visually. For example, the reflections in the game are just copies of the same room upside down under a transparent texture, but it's so sharp and natural looking that you could say it looks better than a lot of screen space reflections we see in video games today. That said, kind of unfair to compare the two since modern games are reflecting a whole lot more than a couch and a couple walls, but still, when you think of old video games in terms of optimization, your mind probably immediately goes to Silent Hill 1. Everybody knows that Team Silent used fog to cover up the distances that the PlayStation 1 couldn't load, and even today some games use fog to hide pop-in. But some games did so much in terms of post-effects that it not only covered up hardware limitations, but actually made the game look better. Shadow of the Colossus was one of the last PlayStation 2 oriented,
and it also like allowed for forced certain storytelling because of the limitations of the console. This is actually interesting because like your console, it can only do this, and because of that, like there was a lot of like symbolism or ways to imagine your storytelling that had to adapt to the limitation of the console, and making you actually like symbolize certain things, making certain things. Let's say you cannot like clearly do the texture of like an important item, right? Well, you make it an icon, right? This is how like why in a lot of games, even these days, like it's not like the what you grab is an icon that is already like you got used to. This icon gives you health, this icon gives you ammo. But back in the day, it was because of limitations. And when it comes to storytelling, it happened as well, where like limitations of consoles meant that certain things, because they cannot be rendered, must be symbolized in certain ways. And this is really cool because like certain games really abuse that, but like not abuse that, but got inspired to do that, like Shadow of the Colossus or others.
Games to come out before the 7th gen takeover. And it also, no offense to my Shadow of the Colossus stands, has the most rage-inducing horse since
Zelda as well.
Roach from The Witcher 3. In Shadow of the Colossus, you're tasked to navigate a variety of dramatically open areas in hopes of hunting down all of the Colossi. Because Shadow of the Colossus is a lot of landscape, the developers used clever tricks to amp up the cinematicness of each area and distract the player from the PlayStation 2 fucking dying trying to run it. The developers incorporated a built-in HDR technique that simulated light in a way that it would appear as if a camera was picking up on it. In dark enclosed spaces, the outside areas shine so bright that you can't see the spaces that aren't loaded in correctly. And when riding aggro, the brightness shifts from very light to very dark depending on where you go on the map. Shadow of the Colossus' art direction makes the game screenshot material at all times. Most areas consist of an impressive amount of space, with large rock faces decorating the horizon. While it may seem like loading extreme distances like this would be impossible on the PlayStation 2, you'd be completely right. There are multiple different loading stages that the distant areas go through depending on how far the player is from them. At the farthest distance, the game renders them in 2D, similar to how most out-of-bounds areas were done on the Nintendo 64. And notice how the developers used fog and lighting to obscure the distance, making the two-dimensional formation less identifiable as true 2D. If the player ventures closer to the cliff faces, they shift to a low poly model, and then of course a more detailed one when up close. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker is another example of a game that used its art direction to cover up blatant hardware limitations. The islands that the players can see in the distance are extremely low poly, but they're tinted a dark blue that contrasts nicely over the bright ocean. What's interesting is the islands on the horizon can only be rendered so far away. Most of them sit the exact same distance away from Link, because the engine could only load so much space at a time. When on an island, the ocean surrounding it is usually this peaceful blue instead of the distorted wavy texture that's seen far out in the ocean, because 1, it looks more natural, and 2, it saves performance because it allows more detail to be focused on the island Link's on and not the big empty ocean surrounding it. I'd argue the only thing holding Wind Waker back from a modern perspective is the fact that its old-ass code hardlocks it to 30 frames per second. Otherwise, a lot of the graphical tricks that's present in the game would go right over the player's head just because it's consistent with the art style. In Shadow of the Colossus, shadows are also rendered very sparingly across the landscape, but the player wouldn't even notice because the gloomy design of the game makes the lack of darkness and shadows in the scenery believable. Shadows were instead focused almost entirely on the player, aggro, and the colossi. The game had separate shadow map models that the developers would use to accurately texture where a shadow would appear on each important model, and because of the amount of detail they spared just so it could be used on the main character, Shadow of the Colossus is one of the few PS2 games to use real-time shadows on player characters. Some of you guys may be thinking, Justin, you are an idiot, go back to Pizza Hut and get off YouTube. What are you talking about players won't notice the 2D rock faces in the distance? Are you blind? The resolution and frame rate that I'm playing the game at on this video was not the resolution or frame rate standard at the time. The normal PlayStation 2 Classic version of the game plays at 480p, and at that resolution, the graphics appear way more realistic. You wouldn't even notice the flaws in the environment. That's why all of those realistic indie games have this body cam filter over it, because the distortion makes it look more real. But to be honest, 99% of you probably already knew that. What I really want to talk about is the fur in Shadow of the Colossus and how the developers made it look so good on the ancient PlayStation 2 hardware. On the raw stripped down vertex model of the Colossi, the developers painted shadows where there would be real-time ambient occlusion in a modern video game, and the fur is colored a light greenish brown to act as a foundation for the final version. The fur on the Colossus was made in a very convenient way where it looked great but wasn't too demanding on the PS2's GPU. For the long sections of fur on a Colossus's back, for example, the developers used 4 to 8 polygon layers, but 6 was the common number depending on the boss. The layers on on top were lighter, while the ones closest to the Colossus were darker. The texture of the fur is 64 by 64 pixels, and each layer uses the same texture, but just changes the brightness to give a feeling of depth. And some parts of the textures are transparent, making the strands of fur look individual. Now, to be fair, I broke this process down into very simple terms for the sake of entertainment, but basically, the fur technique in Shadow of the Colossus isn't anywhere close to individually rendered strands of hair, but it doesn't have to be because it looks amazing, but also saves performance. And fun fact, they use the same technique on the grass too. Keep in mind, sorry about the hair, I just got back from a walk. It's
kind of shitty outside, it was raining.
Keep in mind, this game ran on the same console that could only play Silent Hill 2 at 25 frames per second. The big lesson about today's video is that a lot of the time with video games, it's less about the console and more about the optimization of the product. Without stylization, Silent Hill 2 wasn't exactly Crysis when it came to graphics. Because of Silent Hill 2's gloomy atmosphere, Team Silent didn't have any pressure to decorate the world with a bunch of shadows, just like what we talked about with Shadow of the Colossus. The game does use real-time shadows in minimal amounts, and we can see this in the room where you get the flashlight. Using a free camera hack, we can see the other side of James that isn't hit by the light, and his model reacts appropriately to this scene. Real-time lighting is also used in the hallways, but it's very clear to see when it starts and when it cuts off. Another blatant performance saver with the real-time light is how smaller objects don't cast shadows. Where Silent Hill 2's optimization falls flat is how it renders off-screen objects. Using the free camera hack from before, we can see the objects in the fog that weren't previously visible. For some reason, the game renders them in full detail instead of loading lower res or even 2D models to save performance. Silent Hill 2's models were also pretty high quality for the time. And it's not just the models. Light sources and shadows are visible too, even though the player can't even see them. Something Silent Hill 2 does well though is how much it fakes its shadows. Pretty much every stationary model in the game is painted dark around the edges where it touches another object. This is a lighting technique in video games that's as old as time, and even though it's inaccurate, I really hope developers keep using it. The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 are great examples of modern games that use excessive ambient occlusion to its advantage. The darkness around the high quality models makes the brighter spots stand out and makes each area seem more detailed. Wind Waker from 2003 also used inaccurate lighting to its advantage, like how only one light source can affect Link at one time. Nintendo didn't even design the graphics like that because of a GameCube hardware limitation. The GameCube can handle up to 8 light sources at one time. They only did it because it made Link stand out more to the player. And in older consoles like the PlayStation 2, developers really had to choose between accuracy or what looks good. I will say that the opening scene for Silent Hill 2 is optimized pretty well. The developers made sure to tweak it so nothing unnecessary was loaded in, and that's probably because of the open space with the 2D background in the distance. Only what's necessary is loaded in, and we can test this by flipping the camera around, revealing that most of the models are only half loaded. But what if I told you that only 2 years after Shadow of the Colossus, a game would come out that threw the idea of working around real-time graphics right out the window and into a KPA soldier's face? Can it run Crysis is a saying that we've all heard because back in 2007 when the game released, it was so advanced that the large majority of people could not run the game at a playable frame rate. Almost everything in Crysis is real-time and is meant to stretch your computer's simulation capabilities to their absolute limit. Throwing a grenade into a building will result in it caving in into itself in a way that reacts accurately to whatever materials are holding it up. Trees can be broken up into individual parts, you can pick up almost everything and throw it at an enemy. This game is so advanced that I thought my computer was struggling to run it because it was so ahead of its time, but actually, Crysis was built for single-core CPUs, and probably what happened was while developing the game, the creators assumed single-core processors would just get more powerful, but what actually ended up happening was CPU manufacturers just kept adding cores into processors, so Crysis still only uses one core to run. Which is why no matter how good your PC is, it probably can't run Crysis, or at least not consistently well. Of course, not everything in Crysis has proper physics, because it was still a game from 2007, but because of its use of pretty much every single modern visual achievement at the time, from screen space reflections to material physics to shadow mapping on environmental and human objects, Crysis was in some ways the end of an era. It's not that developers don't incorporate graphical tricks in their games to showcase beautiful visuals without using as much power anymore, but designing visuals just isn't as tight as it used to be. A lot of iconic games are remembered for their art style, but most of the time they got that beloved art style because they were working around hardware limitations. So does this mean that new video games are facing a decline in original art?
So this is kind of like not true, but it is true that like a lot of video games really shined and became their own uh truly discovered themselves an identity because of hardware limitation, right? Samus, for example, was orange because hardware limitation. You want to see who you are playing. Same with Mario. Same with like Link, right? But now the question is that like people are like the gaming industry and like the game designers are not children, and it's more about do you have the time and do you have the inspiration to actually do that. And this is the real question that you need, that people that game designers get to ask themselves, and sometimes they miss, sometimes sometimes they don't care. Sometimes they stick to they stay within like the reach of like this let's say more less colorful type of like design, right? Doesn't mean that they're bad people. No, it's the any people that play video games are the enemy. The game designers, they're just trying to fucking protect us against them. Because imagine if League of Legends players were not like playing League of Legends right now, you will be most likely in danger. But yeah, when it comes to that, you can see that with like games like Ori that then got released like in Hollow Knight, the new Mario's, Metroid Dread, or Elden Ring, where they have like this capacity to create this art design, and to have this choice to create really a visual experience for the players. Do they have the resources for that? That's the question that the game designers have, and do they have the inspiration to do that? And not modern gaming, like we are like past the idea of modern gaming has been modern gaming for a while, you know. And so yeah, but I understand why he says that.
Art direction, since there's not nearly as many boundaries as there used to be. No! Shut the Plenty of AAA games with fun and original art styles come out every single year, and although there's certainly a collection of bad
Or Kirby, like the last Kirby.
Apple's releasing junk that doesn't work on launch, those companies have been pumping out slop since 2002 anyways. I don't want this video to become another circle jerk of negativity dogging on modern gaming like the other one. Sometimes I regret posting that video to the internet because even though I did address a lot of problems with the current era of tech and graphics, there's still a ton of value and beauty in modern gaming that I didn't talk about enough to balance out the criticism. In the last few years, it's become the new thing to dislike video game graphics, because hot take, I actually prefer gameplay over graphics. And so do you. And so does Cletus next door. I see the same opinion posted everywhere, as if it's this rebellious assertion of individuality, even though it's about as hot a take as saying, boy, do I love clean air, but I don't like breathing in my own carbon monoxide. So I'm gonna take this moment with you guys to appreciate how far graphics have come.
So yeah, no, this is and like this is what he said is great. Is basically like coming like connecting to what I said. Like, don't be this jaded person that like fucking thinks that like video games are over just because you didn't found the video game that you are craving for. Like, video games are not in their infancy, but at the same time, they always will be in their infancy because there will be like a new game that will fucking like just change the game and change the fucking like world, and this is the greatness of gaming, you know.
Red Dead Redemption 2 always felt like a painting to me. Some people say realistic games don't have style, but Red Dead 2's exaggerated western lights beg to differ. This game is so dramatic, and I love it. Night City is the most depressing place on Earth, but probably one of the best game cities to spend 100 hours in. Only in Cyberpunk do I look at garbage and say, damn, that looks amazing. Mario Maker is a really good game. I just wanted to throw that in there while I was at it. But what do you guys think about all this? What older...
Follow Justin. Follow Justin. I don't know what type of yeah, like I'll check more of what he does. Like I'm actually really curious of what he does. Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that like overall the thing that like you
Why is everybody saying that the Oblivion...
the the thing that is really interesting that pointed out is that back in the day a lot of like stylistic choices, what you see as stylistic choices, became stylistic choices because of hardware limitations. And this is actually a great thing because this shows how passionate the game designers were and how ingenious they became just to try to present you an idea. And this is absolutely brilliant. I think that like game designers deserve much more love and their work and for their work and also for all their efforts, and they deserve a better pay, and they deserve a better like they deserve to be like just less like criticized and more understood, because they did miracles after miracles, miracle after miracles. And yeah, so yeah, thank you Justin for this video. This was fucking great. Check his YouTube. He has other stuff that is really fucking cool. Anyway, let me all right. Uh, mm, you know what? I'll I will actually finish the stream on this one. It's been quite a while. I still need to upload a lot of stuff. So I'll see you later. And as always, be toxic. See ya.